Hey, what's up? Andrew Krammer here, and welcome. Thank you. So, as some of you know, I'm a visual effects artist and designer, and today we're going to take a look at some recent work I've done with After Effects. And anybody here an After Effects user? This guy. I know that guy. Right on. So, we're going to take a look at some different unique techniques for some weird problems. And unfortunately, I'll be honest, yesterday I did the same presentation. So it's not likely to get better, but we're all here, so we'll do our best. So someone on Twitter said, hey, are you doing the same presentation? I said, yeah, but I'll probably be wearing a different t-shirt. But that didn't work out either. So this is OK, though. So let's take a quick look at this is going great. Yesterday, it was a disaster. Let's take a look at some recent work, and then we'll dive into some After Effects stuff. So let's sound ready. Thank you. Thank you. So does anybody ever, when you're, there's a lot of motion designers here, right? This guy? Yeah, that's right. I like the enthusiasm. Take it easy, guys. Well, does anybody ever make sound effects while you're designing, while you're I'm the only one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. OK, this guy's not going to sell me out like the rest of you. All right, so before we jump into the almost human stuff, I want to show you just one short video. We also worked on the title sequence for the film Star Trek Into Darkness, and we created a little mini documentary behind-the-scenes video. So I'm sorry if you've already seen it, but we're going to watch it again because I got 30 minutes to fill, and well, videos kill some time pretty quick here. This one's only about 29 minutes. Here we go.
What's up? Andrew Krammer here for VideoCopilot.net. Thanks for tuning in. Recently, I had the opportunity to work with J.J. Abrams for the title sequence of the film Star Trek Into Darkness. Alright, so we knew we wanted to create 32 unique titles in space. Now, there's two ways to do it. One, we could go into space, fly around, and shoot these, because JJ, he really likes to shoot things practically, in camera when possible. However, it's very expensive to shoot in space, so we decided instead, let's do it with CG. The only thing, in the end, it actually turned out to be a little bit more expensive. The first thing we did is built things like planets and moons and asteroids and nebulas. Once we built all of these assets, we imported them inside of Adobe After Effects using Element 3D. Another cool thing we did is we used the particle replicator to create fields of particles. So what we could do is just take a couple of asteroid pieces, randomize the rotation, randomize the size, and spread them out so it looks like a whole field of these objects. Now, another thing we did is we built real lens flares based on actual photographic lens flares. Basically, we took a flashlight like this and shined it into the camera of some anamorphic lenses to create some really cool photographic elements. So we basically created a bunch of custom lens flare presets based on real photographic lens flares. In addition to creating a bunch of planets and 3D objects, we also created some custom particle effects. For some of the scenes, we had really bright suns that had solar flares burning off of them and had just like a really cool atmosphere to it. So by taking these particle animations and spreading them out in 3D space around our sun, we could create a very three-dimensional look with all of these particles happening in the same cone. All right, let's take a quick break to build the Enterprise. This looks pretty straightforward. I mean, take the pieces out of the bags. I'm like halfway done. All right, the last piece.
Unnecessary. Thank you guys. So anyway, that's my presentation. Thank you guys. 20 more minutes. All right, better do something. Let's play another video. Actually, so the work we're going to talk about today is for the show Almost Human. It's about futuristic cops and robots and all that good stuff. Everybody likes that. And they wanted to create a what we call a saga cell. So it's sort of like what the show is about along with the main title. So it's explains the world, sets it up a little bit. And you'll see some shots from the actual episodes. That includes some visual effects work that my friend Jay Worth, the visual effects supervisor, handled all that. And they really did some amazing stuff on TV show budgets. And so let me show you the entire intro saga cell, and then I'll jump in and show you the specific stuff that we worked on. So, fair enough? I've got the computer, so that's going to be that.
The year is 2048. Evolving technologies can no longer be regulated. Dangerous advancements forever alter the criminal landscape. Police are not prepared. Law enforcement combats this corruption with a new line of defense. But not all are created equal.
The idea behind the DRMs was to be as human as possible. They were based on a program called Synthetic Soul.
That's one of the crazy ones. I'll lead you in. Let's go.
Now all cops, human and man-made together, take on the battle to watch over us all.
All right. Thank you, that guy. Have you guys noticed that every video has ended with like the sound of books dropping in a library? Anyway, it's a great sound. I got a whole library, all different types of books, encyclopedias. So good. Now, we worked on a handful of shots. So the entire sequence was using shots from the show, but we actually had just a couple of very specific jobs. So we had to create the laboratory job. We had to create, let's see, this sort of ink job. We had the city job. We had a badge gun job. And then we had this hand one as well. And you know, it was a lot of very specific work that we had to come up with. Now, the key shot is this eye. And this eye shot is made up of, you know, a lot of different layers. And the very core of this, let me switch to full res. You can see there's a lot of this kind of microscopic, you know, circuitry. And I think that was one of the first things that we worked on. Like, how do we come up with a really solid, very realistic looking circuitry pattern. So we actually ended up coming up with a custom plugin. And let me show you a little bit about what that plugin did. So it's circuits here. You can kind of see what it looks like. So basically, it's randomly generated circuitry that follows actual patterns. So you can kind of see there are microchips, and all of the lines are all parallel. So they all conform to a very specific pattern. They'll follow, and they'll fill up all of the components and all the circuits. And obviously, to animate something by hand, would be a lot of work. So we ended up coming up with an algorithm that could create all of that automatically. And then once we took that, we just created about, let's see, like a dozen different randomizations. Some of them are like a little bit larger. Some of them are a bit smaller, more compact. Now, what was important is in this eye shot, let's see here, we wanted to look like there was a lot of detail, like at that subatomic level, so that when the camera pushes in through the eye, so if we look at the video again real quick, we can really see a lot of detail, and there's like a rack focus, and each one of these layers is offset in 3D space. So as the camera goes through, we're feeling like it's a very dense, like cybernetic kind of network, and that these robots are very complex. And as I said yesterday, it really just makes it look like we put a lot of work into it, even though we didn't, and we just build them for double. Yeah, just kidding, JJ. All right. So let me show you just the cool way of taking elements and taking designs and just creating circular patterns out of them. So if we come over to our circular comp, let's see here. Has anyone ever used the background color in After Effects? One guy. Risky business. All right, so let me create an adjustment layer. As you can tell, I make tutorials, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's see. Can you guys keep it down over there real quick? I'm trying to. Yeah, all right. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So polar coordinates, right? We set this to rectangle to polar, turn it up, and what that does is it turns this into sort of a circular pattern. So I don't know, let me turn up the quality there. So now if we, say, add a little bit of repetition to this, so let's do like a motion tile. Throw that on there. Hardcore effects right here, guys. Let's see. Wait for it. Dude, let's restart this presentation, please. We gotta work out the bugs. All right, so you can see with a little bit more of that repetition, we can create insane amount of detail. And as anyone who's studied design, it's like everything has multiple levels of detail. You have like the large circuits, you have the micro circuits, and it just gives a sense of depth. And that was probably the first thing we worked on. And once we figured that out, we were feeling pretty good, pretty good. All right. Now, another thing that I actually like to talk about is the shoot. So we needed to shoot an eye that was macroscopic. So we actually shot this eye with a Canon 5D Mark III. And one of the things that we realized is that it's very difficult to hold perfectly still, when you're that close to somebody. So you can kind of see shaking a little bit. So what we did is we used the warp stabilizer. And I don't want to show you that because it's just too boring, and I have more boring stuff to show you. But it will take all the motion out of it, and you can kind of see here what the result looks like. It's perfectly stabilized, and even that reflection kind of moves perfectly in line with as the camera kind of pushes through the eye. And you can sort of see there. We used one of those, like those LED light, like ropes, basically, and just creates a nice, even, we call that futuristic lighting. There's always some odd LEDs in the background. So that's pretty good. Another cool thing about this particular shot, so there is multiple levels to this, and if I show you you see this one little detail at the end. It's sort of like an iris. So you see that? 5 frames. That took 64 days to complete. You wouldn't believe it. No, actually, we used Element 3D. And man, this is going good. Camera guy, keep going. Good job. What I did was I took a mask layer and drew an iris shape. And then inside of Element 3D, you can basically extrude those shapes. So we've got this one extrusion object here. Add a metal texture. I don't know why this metal is so worn down. It's inside of an eye that was created in a laboratory that seemed pretty clean. But what are you going to do? We don't think these things always, we got budgets, time constraints. But what you can do is you can use the particle replicator and change, so let's see here. You can actually change how many of these little iris points there are. And then we can come down and we can actually rotate the particle. So as you rotate the particle, you can create these kind of fun iris, shutter animations. And I thought that was pretty cool, so that was that. Let's take a look at some other stuff. So that's obviously going really well. All right, let's go into some practical visual effects. So another one of the shots is in this sort of sterile laboratory, right? Somewhere in here, let's see. Right here, OK. So we've got this kind of ink pouring into this tube, and it just looks like they're doing some hardcore science in there. And if we take a look, let's see. It was actually rendered in 3D Max with V-Ray, and we add some depth of field and After Effects. And this was sort of like the original idea. It was like, hey, we have this drop of blood because are these things human? Are they almost human? We didn't know. We didn't know. But what we decided was, let's add some stock footage. So what we did is we filmed some real practical elements. And actually, let me tell you the story about this. This is actually a vase that I got some flowers for my wife, right? And I never do anything nice, believe it or not. And I gave it to her, and she was like all happy. And then I was like, that's a heck of a vase. And so I said, honey, can I have that back? And so I threw the flowers away. And then I took the vase, and it's perfectly clear. And what we would do is we would just take a ruler or something, stir up the water, and pour in some ink or pour in some various liquids. And as you poured it in, it would create this cotton candy look almost. I mean, look at that. This is the one that didn't make the cut. It was too delicious. Look at this one. I'm actually going to try to get this in the new Sharknado movie. I don't know how to pull that off, but I think it was edited in Premiere, so I could talk to some of the guys here. Maybe not. They're all cut. Let's get this guy out of here. It's too late. I'm already almost done. All right. So practical effects, mixing it with live action effects. I always want to encourage people to come to my website, Video Copilot, as much practical stuff as you can combine with CG. It's just going to look so much better. Because if I had to simulate an ink drop, with 3D or fume effects and try to get it to be perfect and try to, direct it in a way without wasting all the time. Instead, I say, hey, honey, I need that back. It's OK. I'm going to stir it up. And we got, 20 or 30 different looks that we could then choose from rather than spinning all the time. So here's what I want to say. Practical effects, visual effects. Let's give it a round of applause. Come on. Don't forget that. Now, the last shot that we worked on was this CG hand shot. So let me see. I think I have the final piece here. So check this out. We've got this kind of robotic arm. Now, this was, again, part of the 3D Max design, and it's kind of robotic. Hey, can we turn this up? All right. We're good. So we can see as it goes through, and then it transitions into this sort of organic looking hand as a fun little transition. I always like to point this out. Watch this. Cross dissolve. Cross dissolve. Again, that took about 3 days to render. Yeah, thanks, buddy. We billed them triple for that dissolve. Thank you guys for watching. This is actually the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.